Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. Spider-Man is a really awesome hero with some pretty sick stories. But as you know from last video, there are a lot of great alternate versions to the classic Peter Parker. You asked for more, so I'm here to provide them. Make sure to let me know in the comments which version you think would win in an all-out fight. With no further ado, here's my top 10 alternate versions of Spider-Man, Part 2. Number 10. Spider-Boy. Spider-Boy was the amalgam hero that was a combination of Spider-Man and Superboy. While it's kinda neat to see a character with all those powers, the choice of Superboy was kinda disappointing. I feel like there are any number of better heroes to pair with Spidey, and Superboy is kind of a lame one, even though he has grown on me in recent years. The other stupid thing about this is the name isn't really that different. Like, Spider-Man was already a boy. Spider-Boy would probably have been more fitting for the original Spider-Man anyway. With so many other cool name changes in the amalgam universe like Dark Claw and Speed Demon, Spider-Boy was pretty soft. But I gotta admit the powers are pretty cool, so for the sake of his cool abilities, he's going on the list. Number 9. Electric Company Spider-Man. Chances are not many of you guys are aware of this version or even aware of the Electric Company in general. But for you 40-plus-year-olds in the audience, this is for you. The Electric Company was a public access educational show for kids in the 70s. Well, in the 4th and 5th season of the show, our favorite web-slinger made appearances in a number of shorts, where he communicated through speech bubbles to teach kids to read. If that isn't awesome enough, some of them were narrated by Morgan Freeman. Oh yeah, and while this was definitely not a particularly cool version of Spider-Man, it's pretty cool to see how pervasive he was at the time. And to answer your question, yes, it was incredibly corny. Number 8. Spider-God. Kwaku Anansi was one of the Abossum, an extra-dimensional race worshipped as gods by various African tribes. Anansi is believed to be the first Spider-Man, having used his powers to travel across and see Africa. After making a deal with the sky god Nyame, he left the mortal world, transmitting his power into spiders across the world. Anansi has made a few appearances in the comics, with his temple being the site of a number of Spider-Man battles, has been used to grant Spider-Man additional power. While not the most important version of Spider-Man, it's neat to see a version steeped in African culture, which has a ton of cool stories that are super underrepresented in comics. Number 7. Man-Spider, or Six-Armed Spider-Man. Six-Armed Spider-Man was from the Mutant X universe, where the mutant gene was extremely prevalent, leading to a large number of mutants who, because of their numbers, were accepted as part of society, at least for a time. This Spider-Man of Earth 1298 had really just one main difference from other iterations: he had 6 arms. That's pretty much it. Other than that, he had the same powers and everything, but with the large number of mutants in this reality, it led to some really cool situations. And honestly, I think he looks cooler with the extra arms. Now that said, I feel like Doc Ock might not like this version because Man-Spider's extra arms might steal some of the Doc's thunder. Number 6. Spider-Man 2211. Okay, never mind. This version of Spider-Man would piss off Doc Ock. In this version from Earth 9500, Spider-Man is in the year 2211, where technology has progressed leaps and bounds. Spidey builds a set of 4 robotic arms to help fight against Hobgoblin. Seriously, he doesn't even try to hide the plagiarism. At least change it up a bit, dude. The thing that makes this version of Spidey so great is the incredibly tragic life he lives. It turns out Hobgoblin is actually his daughter Robin, who dies in a battle against Spidey 2211, Spidey 2099, and our Earth Spider-Man. After the other Spideys leave, 2211's killed by Chameleon, who was disguised as Uncle Ben. Seriously, it's like a series of unfortunate Spidey events. But it's a pretty good story. Number 5. WEBSLINGER. WEBSLINGER was a Spider-Man from the miniseries Avatar's Covenant of the Shield, where many Marvel characters were reimagined as medieval characters. Living on the planet Earth, or Aearth, I don't know how it's pronounced. WEBSLINGER is a man who was cursed for using his powers and turned into a monstrous creature looking like a messed up humanoid spider. While this version of Spider-Man was pretty cool looking, what puts WEBSLINGER on my list is my love for Covenant of the Shield. I just love fantasy and fairy tales and King Arthur stuff, and it was just so amazing to get my superhero fix at the same time as my sword and sorcery fix. Honestly, if I could set all superhero comics into fantasy superhero comics, I probably would. So cool. Number 4. Spider-Monkey. In Marvel Apes, the spiritual successor for the Marvel Zombies miniseries, we see Spider-Man as a monkey in costume, along with ape versions of other heroes like Captain America, Iron Man, and Wolverine. While not the best written series, they took the whole monkey shtick to a new level, and it turned out pretty well. In a story that's been described as a Lord of the Rings style sprawling epic, we watched the Gibbon fight alongside the Ape Vengers against Dr. Octavius. It's just too perfect, and the puns are, as usual, both amazing and terrible. It's worth a read just for the visuals of seeing a bunch of monkey versions of their favorite heroes, but it really isn't half bad in its own right. Number 3. Peter PARQUAGH. In 2003, a series of Marvel comics taking place in 1602 were released with 17th century versions of our favorite heroes living on Earth 311. The Spider-Man of the 17th century began as assistant to Sir Nicholas Fury, going on to England and taking part in a number of missions and constantly avoiding spider bites. While it definitely took way too long for him to get his powers, it was pretty funny watching him narrowly avoid being bitten time and time again, kinda like Mr. Magoo. When he's finally bitten by a spider imbued with temporal energies, he becomes a witch breed, receiving a number of powers. He then goes on to take on the mantle of the Spider and becomes a hero. Sadly, his time on Earth 311 was limited, dying at the hand of Morlun at the Globe Theatre. I love period heroes, and it was really neat seeing so many heroes and villains in the 17th century. Number 2. The Spider from Exiles. In this version of Spider-Man, a red-headed Peter Parker merges with the Carnage symbiote, becoming a sociopathic mass murderer who likes hurting people and kills without a second thought. He fought for Weapon X, taking the place of Daredevil, and basically acts as his own version of Deadpool, with a similar sense of sadistic humor, and loves inflicting damage. With the Spider-Man powers, as well as those given by the Carnage symbiote, he's a pretty powerful dude, eventually dying in a mega blast at the hands of Firestar. He was a pretty cool Spidey. I'm always a fan of crazy and violent versions of heroes, and his humor was the icing on the cake. Number 1. Spider-Man the Hunter. In the 2010 What If comic, What If Spider-Man Killed Kraven the Hunter, we see what could have happened if Spider-Man had decided not to spare the life of Kraven the Hunter. This is one of my favorite stories, mostly because Kraven is the frickin' man. In this story, Spider-Man kills Kraven and later determines that he must become the new hunter since the world needs a hunter. In one panel, you see Peter wearing Kraven's clothes and sitting on his throne with the remaining Kravenoffs chained to the throne, and a lion, which is sick. While the rest of the story gets a bit weird, there are some awesome fights, and honestly, the image of Peter Parker on the throne surrounded by Kraven's chained up relatives is enough to put him on the list, because it was so cool. That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully at least one of these was new to you. Methinks the Electric Company one may have been surprise to most. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe down below so you can see even more nerdy videos. Make sure to let me know what other lists you'd like to see, and if you have any superhero themed jokes, please let me know because I need to update my joke arsenal. Until next time, I'm Ron McKenzie LaFurgey with Top 10 Nerd. Later, nerds.